Hello, everyone. It's Jenna Ryan. Welcome to Self Love You. Today, I'm going to talk about getting the toxic people out of your life. It's important that you clear your life of toxic people. What I have found along my healing journey is that as soon as I discover that I'm in a toxic situation, I'm able to walk away from that situation and deal with the loneliness that may occur from not having that friend around for however long it takes, and then move on and get new people in my life that are healthier. But what I've learned is it's kind of like when you're learning from scratch and you're not really sure of your own self-worth. And, from years ago, whenever I was like, okay, just starting this process, I didn't really understand. So it took me several people to go through, several toxic relationships, several people that were not treating me, as an equal, and were not authentic, and were not true, and were very confusing, and were very one-upping. And it took a string of these people for me to understand exactly what an equal, healthy, authentic, true, sincere relationship is. And so I'm talking about friendships. And so it's very important that you keep yourself toxic free, because you may think that having one toxic friend in your life is not going to hurt you. At least this person is fun to hang out with. At least, you've got someone to talk to if you have a problem. At least, you're not lonely because you've got this person. And I've learned that that's not the right attitude, because toxic people in your life, if you're actually in a friendship with them where you're sharing your personal life and you are emotionally engaged with this person, this friend, that it can be detrimental to your growth and development. And it will slow you down, and it will hold you back, and it will cause you pain, because we were meant to relate. We're hardwired to connect. And when you're connecting with a toxic other, it actually thwarts your process. And so it causes you to have feelings of less than, because that's the message of a toxic person. A toxic person is not mature, is not developed, is not interested in having a true and authentic two-way relationship. They're interested in their own selves, in their own self-interest, and they have their own agenda. And so they can't necessarily be there for you as a true friend. So sharing your private information with a toxic person can end up harming you. And so we're going to talk about different kinds of attitudes and behaviors. First of all, let's just talk about a blatant, narcissist person. Someone who is very self-centered. These people are eventually going to take you down. They're going to be gossiping behind your back. They're going to be extremely envious. This is like a overt narcissist. Of course, you want to keep those people out of your life. Now, the problem comes in when this person is really good friends with another person you know. Then you're trying to keep one person out of your life, but you want to keep this one in your life. And you're like, I don't want to be rude, but I just really don't want to hang out with that person because they, rub me the wrong way. You don't want to go out. I don't want to go out with that person because she's a narcissist and because that makes you, an armchair psychologist. And really, that's not your role, is to call other people names. And you're trying to stay away from gossip. So, how do you keep certain people away from you but allow others in? It's quite the process. But another thing, so a blatant narcissist, you want to keep all of those people out of your life. You want to make sure that the people that you have in your life are equal. So they don't relegate you to communicating with them at their terms. Okay? If someone will only communicate with you on their terms, then that person is toxic to you. Anyone that, they won't, you call them in the, they're not available. They are only available, let's say, after 10 p.m., after they've had a bottle of wine. Okay, then they want to talk to you. This is a toxic friendship. This is not a healthy friendship. And so that's not someone you want to be around. Even though you can't see it with your eyes, maybe necessarily at the time, this is someone who is likely slandering you behind your back. Because anybody that would treat you like that is not somebody that is a true friend. That is someone who is they're getting self-esteem, they're building themselves up by relegating you to the end of their day. And another problem, another toxic person, very, very toxic, and I don't think, it's someone who is an alcoholic, someone who is always drunk, someone who's a binge drinker. Unfortunately, that's not someone that's going to be a good friend for you. You may love this person, you may adore this person, but if they're, really, really drunk and really, really on opiates and really, really binge drinking and out of control in their drinking, that's a toxic person, and you have to get that person out of your life. If a person is constantly selfish and always making plans, and they're making the plans and you don't feel comfortable making plans, or if they call you and they talk the whole time about their own problems and they don't ask about you, or they ask you for advice but don't ask about you, that is a toxic person. And I'm sure that there's other things the person is doing as well that are very narcissistic. And if you get involved with that person, you'll find that there's gossip, there's slander, there's all kinds of, smear campaign, just negative things that are involved with that type of person. So if someone is just calling you up and just talking about themselves the whole time, doesn't ask you about your day or what's going on with you, and just asks you for advice, that is a toxic person, and you want to stay away from that person. If someone is only available to you for you to share your negative experiences with them, where they will listen to you talk about negative things, and they urge you or prod you to talk about negative things in your life, that is a toxic person, and it's not a good friend, and it's not someone that you want to keep around. You don't want to rehash your negative aspects of your life with anyone. If this is something that you find yourself doing on a regular basis, I highly recommend that you get with a counselor and begin to share with a counselor, because it means that you have some unmet needs to be heard, and also some self-esteem issues where you are just overwhelmed with negativity about what's going on in your life. So it's very important if you have 90% of your conversation with this person, or even 50% is about negative aspects of your life, then this is probably a person who, I'm not for sure, but very likely a person who thrives on negativity. They could be sadistic. And what happens is it becomes like a crab in a bucket, where if you start feeling better, they're not going to be around, and they'll give you the silent treatment. And they are trying to control you, and it will keep you in a negative state. Not to mention talking about your problems all of the time and focusing on that and sharing with other people about it will actually cause more of that to occur, because energetically you're drawing more of the same to yourself. You're not improving your life. You're not getting any better by sharing negative stuff with people. It doesn't help. It's okay to share, That's vital, and that's part of human connection. You just want to make sure that there is balance in the sharing and that the person is equally happy for you when happy things happen, that sometimes if bad things happen, you're able to share, but you don't dwell on it. And that person on the receiving end should be, if you share negative things, they should be positive. They're with you in your negativity. They're with you in your sadness. They don't try to make you happy. But at the end of the day, they believe in the best for you. They're not pulling for, they're like, you're right. You should just give up. That's so depressing. Ugh. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're more like, I'm sorry that happened. I know how you feel. But remember, they remember when you're down, they can remind you of how it feels to be up and that you're going to be back up again. Okay, onward we go. So people who are, there's also another type of person that can be toxic for you, and that is someone that is only around for the good stuff. Someone who is really there for you and on your side and on your team, and a friend to you, feels like a friend to you, when great things are happening. But when things start normalizing, because nobody's life is always on the high. We have ups, we have downs, we have good days, we have bad days. And our friends are there to make life better, and we're there to make their life better. And it's supposed to be a give and a take. And you toss the ball back and forth. And the ball that you toss is not just, you talk and then I'll talk. You also want to look at the content of the conversation. It needs to be, I share parts of me and you share parts of you. We share together. And that's another part of it. So I'll just go into that now or I'll forget. Okay, so you share equal parts of yourself. If someone is not sharing equally, if you're the only one who shares about your life and they are not sharing anything about their life, then that is an unequal relationship. That's one where you're one down. That's one where they're trying to, or maybe they feel, maybe subconsciously, isn't all conscious. Maybe they're not comfortable being close. Maybe they're not friendship material. You can always talk to them about it and say, hey, I noticed that we don't share equally and I want to know more about you and you matter to me and I want to be a real friend here. Is that something you want? And if it is, then let's do it. And then, you can always set boundaries and you can set limits and things. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the maturity level of the person. If they're capable of a mature relationship, if they're capable of back and forth. So you want to make sure that the content of the back and forth includes mutual sharing. Okay, back to what I was saying before. If someone is a fair weather friend who is only available when you're happy, that's not a good friend. And at the end of the day, hanging around people like this and really being devoted to them and considering them a friend, per se, a close friend, that's damaging to you because, what are you going to do when you're down and that person's not around? It creates this really awkward experience. So you want to make sure that you have people that are there for you, because there are people that will be there for you, but you can't find them if you're overloaded with a toxic friendship base all around you. If you have, your closest friends are toxic, then how are you ever going to find a healthy, functioning person? Because you're going to be so busy, caught up in feeling less than, or feeling slighted, or trying to deal with your own experience of being disrespected, or so busy trying to set boundaries and complaining that you won't be able to find anyone or be available for anyone who's truly a good friend. So someone who is bragging to you all the time, someone who seems to be, constantly telling you how great they are. And, um, you know, I don't know, there's just this whole mindset of look how great I am and you're nothing. And it's really slight and it's usually subtle. It's not like obvious. But if you have this kind of friend, no matter how nice they are on most days, if some days they're slamming you, and trying to say how great they are, and it's not like you definitely want to be encouraging and there for people when they share their good news. That is absolutely expected and wonderful. That's what great friendship is about, is being happy for one another. When your friend is happy, you're happy. You're happy for them. But someone who is going out of their way to rub things in your face, you know it. You feel it in your heart. And you want to make sure that you shut that down, because that's a toxic relationship. And then we've got someone who is just disrespectful of you. They always set the tone of the conversation. They act entitled towards you. And that's somebody that, or maybe they text while you're talking, and you can just kind of tell that they're not respecting you. That, or someone who, you go and you agree to go and meet them for drinks. And let's say they're talking to everyone else at the bar except you. Or they're kind of trying to talk to you, but it's not a true engagement. It's more like, here's a stranger. They're more important than you. It's just this very depersonalized, not a very warm and genuine experience. People who play games, who, invite other people like at the last minute, it's this whole like, you're not important. This friendship is not important. I want to have as many people around as possible because I'm not interested in having a close conversation. I just, it's not like about our friendship. This is about being seen, or this is about, it's just not one-on-one. And so that can be a toxic person you don't want to hang around. Someone who doesn't respond to your communications, your bids for connection, whether it be email, text, phone calls, someone who doesn't respond, boy, that's a really good sign. I know people get busy, and if someone's too busy to respond to you, then you know what? They may be an acquaintance. You don't necessarily want to write them off, but they're not somebody I would, tell anything to once they finally decide to return your call. Or, someone who never calls you, or someone who, how about someone who calls you all the time? How about somebody who is in your face and you turn to the left and they're right there, and you turn to the right and they're right there? Toxic people are love bombing and just overkill, really getting in your face. So those are different levels of toxic people, different types of toxic people that you want to clear yourself away from, because they're really blocking you from your growth. And I have found that it is so amazing it's so hard to have someone you truly adore and think is great, and you're having so much fun with this person, but they're toxic towards you. And it's so difficult to say, to yourself, not necessarily to them, but to yourself, I am going to back away from this friendship. And then you distance yourself slowly or whatever. And the feeling that you get is first you go through a period of, melancholy. It's not the same. You really enjoyed talking to them, communicating with them, always being able to have plans with them. But then after that, the road rises up to meet you, and you begin, suddenly someone else comes into your life. And hopefully this person is healthy and good and warm and inviting and reciprocal and healthy. That is the ultimate goal, is to have as many people around you like that as possible. So it's a give and take. That's what true relationships are all about. So that's what happens is you get someone who is at a higher level, more mature. So whenever you tell the universe, okay, I'm done with that lesson, I see my value and I'm worth more than that. And I'm going to go ahead and sit it out without this person. And then eventually life rolls around and someone new will come in and you'll be like, wow, I'm so glad. This is so much better. This experience is so much better to have someone who's reciprocal. Wow, this feels much better. Thank you. And then you're like, if someone shows signs of, categorizing you or not responding, or, someone who gives you advice all the time. Ugh, that drives me nuts. Someone who gives you advice, someone who, those are toxic people. And once you get them out of your life feels fresh and new, and you feel like a whole new person. So get those toxic people out of your life. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Have a great day.